Okay, it is November 14th at 6:50 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting for the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee to order. The first item on the agenda, or the only item on the agenda, is to review and act on the letter for the town meeting in regards to the MBTA zoning that is being proposed. And we sent out a draft of the letter for everyone to review. And I know Louise also sent out some edits to include. So I just wanted to get everyone's thoughts on that.
Everyone had a chance to look at the letter.
Yes. I'm gonna present your version with the edits. So I printed it. So that's your version, and then I just need to pull else. Maybe.
Was the highlight part your edits?
Mhm.
Those are really good edits. I like how you specified who was affecting specifically.
Yeah, I think it was crucial for us to note
Yeah.
why is DIB related.
Just gonna put it up on the screen so everyone can see it. Anna, what is this doing today?
Interesting.
Guys, I'm not like this normally. You all know that. Zooming. Can you guys read that?
Yes.
Okay.
So I had some just some thoughts, right, about the edits. When I originally wrote the letter, I kept it kind of short, and I specifically didn't add in a ton of not a ton, but it specifically didn't add a lot of information that was sort of DEI related because of a couple of different reasons, right? One was I was trying to keep the letter succinct. The other reason is I think if I thought, what is the town doing that would increase diversity? Like, how is that guaranteed, right? It's not necessarily guaranteed. We might get socioeconomic diversity with different types of housing, right? Like some different, and so I think I didn't specifically mention that just because I didn't think there was a clear plan, right? For how I think that in terms of increasing housing, increasing availability of housing, increasing diversity of types of dwelling, and increasing socioeconomic diversity, I think that's kind of a very clear result of that. Which is why I didn't include specifically information in terms of, different racial groups or things like that. Because it doesn't necessarily mean that if we build these apartments that we're going to have, more racial diversity just because we're building these apartments. The other reason why I didn't include a lot of DEI is I think given sort of the political climate that we're in, I kind of have a feeling that sometimes when people hear DEI, it just kind of shuts everything off, and it doesn't really get the point across. So we know, right, that there are communities that are historically disadvantaged, that obviously suffer and get shut out of certain communities, and you know, and these things occur. But I think that the pushback on the MBTA, from what I understand, is not even that the apartments are being built or that there's a proposal for these apartments to be built, right? Because it's really about zoning. And there's no requirement to build anything. The requirement and the law is to zone for these buildings to be built, for these dwellings to be built. And I think that most of the pushback is in terms of whether the state can coerce communities to do this, right? And so I think there are a lot of issues here,
Mhm.
you know, around this thing that I think are, come from a lot of different directions, right? I think in terms of the committee, we, I think that's why I try to keep the letter kind of like more succinct in terms of like, yes, we support this zoning because it's going to increase housing, and that's a good thing, and that's for everybody, if that makes sense.
Well, I can kind of debate against it, I guess. I think part of the reason why I like Lisa's edits to this is because they might wonder why we're writing a letter to them. I feel that if we just keep it vague, like the original draft kind of is, they might not understand why we're writing to them. I mean, we do acknowledge that this is an issue that affects every member of community, but we specifically focus on the members that are marginalized in this community. So I think it's important that we at least mention something about how zoning has been historically used against different races, rather than just implying that it's just a law out there. I mean, there's history behind zoning, and I looked it up before I got here. I think what we should try to push for is to be more accepting of those communities, and not just imply that this is a law, because the fact of the matter is there's history behind this law. Zoning hasn't always been so accepting of people. So that's just what I think. I do think if I were to change something about Lisa's draft, which I really like, by the way, I guess we could try to make it more concise, just because this letter does seem a little long compared to the original draft. But in terms of cutting things out, I don't really see much of an issue here, to be honest, from my side.
Bindu, so you had your hand raised.
Yes, so from what I understand is we are just sending a letter of support. This is not a make or break event by us supporting it. The final verdict is coming from the board,
Town
meeting.
from town meeting.
from the town. Yeah. So this shows that we are supporting it. And yeah, we can or cannot, it's not a big issue. But if there is anything that's kind of like a red flag, we should try to eliminate that and keep it one page. And it should be signed by the DEIB committee.
What was that last
Can
one?
you elaborate more?
At the end, it says thank you. So I said at the end, it should say DEIB committee.
Yeah, that was, sorry, I didn't include like a proper
That's
format
okay.
for the letter, because I didn't include a header like with the address or anything. I just whipped it up, but definitely, yes, it should be signed appropriately.
Bindu, can you just repeat your comments before the thank you portion? It kind of cut out a little bit. We couldn't hear you.
No, I was saying that I didn't properly.
Not you, Cynthia, Bindu. We heard you. We couldn't hear Bindu's comments.
My comment was it's not a letter that is going to make it pass or fail in a way. We are just showing a letter of support, and we can do that with one-page letter. We can and we cannot. It doesn't matter for me. It will not break it or it will not enhance it by including the language we want. I am fine either way. We should keep it one page long.
Okay. and with my edits, it's going to be probably 2 pages because the town header has to be there. Like
That'll take up like
it will take like half
this
a page
much space. Yeah.
at least, like with the town header and all that stuff that goes in. So I do agree that we need to like shorten some of this stuff.
I wonder a succinct way to shorten would tie it into your guys' charge a little bit more. Like why is the DEIB committee and list what your charge is
Correct.
and how
Yeah.
that relates might cover kind of
Correct.
all the concepts you guys are trying to bring forward. That was my only suggestion.
That's a great idea.
I definitely think we do need to condense some of this, but I think we have the main idea down.
Yeah.
So let me pull up the charge, but finish your comments.
I just wanted
multitask.
to, first of all, I wanted to thank you all and for being here, and like thank you, Cynthia, for doing this, because when I brought this up, like my intentions were to talk about things like this, but like in the future. So you like went above and beyond to do this, and I really appreciate it because this is one of the main reasons why I joined this committee. I think that as a I think as a committee, we need to understand that what the MBTA zoning law does, like Cynthia said, is just zoning and not developments. But I do wanna let you guys know, as a town meeting member, I already have the packet of like what's going to be there, and the zone that is already proposed as an overlay district. There are developments already in process, but not by this law, by 40B. We are going to have, I believe it's 300 units in one of the parcels, and I think there's going to be another development that is like 50 apartments. I'm not sure. In the other parcel. So development is coming, but obviously not through this law. But just so you guys are aware, it's also like Cynthia said, like we need to recognize that there are challenges surrounding compliance with this law. There are some disagreements on how or if communities should comply. Many towns have responded concentrating their zoning districts in areas already existing commercial development or multifamily housing, which limits the potential for creating new housing units. Shrewsbury is doing this as well. But there are other municipalities who have exceeded the minimal requirements and are demonstrating proactive approaches to benefit the community in diversifying and economic integration as well. As for like DEIB, I think it's important for us to know that housing equity does fall under our charge, and maybe like Cynthia, because I also had those concerns, like maybe this development will bring gentrification, maybe not. Like we don't know what's going to happen, obviously, but what happens after is beyond our control. We just need to make sure that first of all, that we're complying with the law, and second, that we as DEIB understand that it's more than just diversity, it's also economic equity. And although the MBTA zoning law itself does not have an affordability piece to it, the zoning law that the planning board of this town developed does have that affordability. As for Massachusetts has a law, sorry, I don't know if it's a law, apologies, but that every community needs to have 10% of affordable housing in overall of all the housings, and Shrewsbury's at 6%. So
Right. And that's always going to be a moving target, right? Because the more houses you build, like the more the number goes up. So it's like you're always chasing that 10%. And so I think that's why, um, I definitely see like the housing equity and the financial diversity that it could bring to the town. But why I shied away a little bit from including maybe cultural diversity, because there's no guarantee necessarily, right, that is like, what would happen. So I think we should definitely highlight the housing equity piece, and the sorry, I lost my train of thought, in terms of, of our charge and why we are supporting it. But I think we also have to be a little cautious in like applying, um, I think, like jumping the gun on, or not jumping the gun, but like assuming, who's going to move in to these, to the proposed areas. And I think, right, it's a zoning thing, right? So we're trying to change the zoning for these areas, and it's already in an area that there are apartments, that there are businesses, um, and so it's in the area that's already been slated to build apartments in. So it's not like we're taking a residential neighborhood that has single family homes and changing the zoning to build multifamily homes in it. And so I think, I think that's why it doesn't seems like a win-win. I mean, you're looking at an area that's already slated for development of multi-family housing, and then a dilapidated motel that's on on a major road. So I think it would only benefit the mix of housing available in the town, which is why, in terms of DEI, right, that we are increasing the diversity of types of dwellings, not just increasing single family homes.
correct. So um, I agree with some of what you just said, because yesterday, as I was like reading and I was typing what I wanted to say, I had like an existential crisis, because like I do agree that having this zoning over already developed land, it's not gonna impact. It's not gonna do much as impact as we think it's going to be. But we also have to be cognizant of the residents' feedback that we got from our first town meeting when we were voting on this. And in the first town meeting, we had more quote unquote open space for developments, and we that the town, like the residents' feedback was like, we really don't want this, because people are opposed of housing regardless. And I think it's not fair for people to say we don't want any more people moving into town, because like when we were, like we just said, like as we keep building housing, that percent, that 10%, it's always going to be moving. But if we don't build housing, that we're never going to at least catch up a little bit.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
I think this plan is has like your letter says, like it does have feedback from the residents, and I do think that it is part of our DIB charge, because how can we say um, it's like diversity is not just POC, it's like families, it's
Right.
women, seniors. So when housing is built in any development, it does diversify the neighborhood.
Exactly. In some way, shape, or form.
Yes. Sorry, I do not understand that part. What was that, Cynthia?
No, I was agreeing with you. I said that yes, like whether, whether it's like family type, age groups, right? Like when you have more housing available, you have, especially multifamily housing like this, you have more financially diverse people that are able to, and I think one of the things, for the zoning law is that it is, I think it's the same as the 40B, where only 10% is slated to be at 80% of market value. So it isn't like we're building like, like subsidized housing or something like that. And because I think that's a whole nother issue. But I think it would only benefit the town because we receive grants that we currently use, and then we won't have access to those grants. We can lose out on future funding to help with infrastructure and, other costs that could potentially like improve, like I live in that area. There's no way you can like walk Route 20, and so maybe there's like plans to make the area more walkable, and that increases, like people's access to different grocery stores or things where you don't necessarily have to have a car to get to. And so I think all in all, it would only make, the community that much better.
Hold on one second.
Sorry.
Did you not get any of that?
No, we were helping someone get
I did get
the
some. I
death
did get some.
dispatch.
That's
Someone
okay.
was here for the police, but I did get some of that. And yes, I know that there are road improvements going on Route 20. We just got a grant for that.
Right. And then we would stand to lose these grants, right? And like other grants that are like not just Mass Works and these other grants that we already, from the literature, they're taking into consideration whether communities are compliant when they apply for almost any kind of grant. So I think that, it wouldn't benefit the town if we didn't, and it might even hurt the diversity of the town because we wouldn't be able to have access to these grants for different things.
Yes. So when I'm writing down like this issue affects every member of our community, including but not limited to, and then I list the marginalized communities. Like I just want to stress to the town meeting members that this is an ongoing issue, and you guys potentially saying no to this, it's discriminatory. So as much as I would love to pass this at town meeting, obviously, I also understand that some of this language may I don't know, like turn people away. I don't want to say it's like too radical, but it might be too radical for Shrewsbury. So how can we make this more, like, I don't want to steer away from the reality, but I also don't want to turn people away. With the
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that's kind of like, the thought, right? Is that I think we highlight the benefits that we would have. I mean, there's like, there's real estate tax revenue. There's
Mhm.
the ability to keep getting these grants. I think that's huge, and then increasing the diversity of like socioeconomic diversity of people that are moving to Shrewsbury. And um, I think we could kind of I think we could kind of, and then ultimately, right, this affects all of us. Like if
Mhm.
if we're paying so much money for housing, it affects everybody. It affects some people more than others, obviously. Um, you know, um, but I think highlighting the fact that it affects all of us also. I think
Can I ask a question about why are Shrewsbury Town residents were opposing it? Like, did they have a reason behind it?
Well, in town meeting, it's not just Shrewsbury, Vindu. It's up different communities. I think 12 communities are opposing this because it is my personal opinion, but people do not like housing. And if you want a more technical um, um, answer to that, I feel like um, maybe we should ask them, because every time there's like housing mentioned anywhere in the country, not just Massachusetts, not just Shrewsbury, people go up in arms and like, no, why are you doing this?
There's a lot of misinformation, I feel like. Is it going to
Correct.
increase our taxes? Is it
Correct.
going to decrease the value of our homes?
Yeah, it's
right.
going to increase values of your home. It's going to, like, the revenue that the town will get out of developments. It's more than what we're currently getting. Not only that, like some people have other concerns, like um, public service costs are going to increase or burden our emergency service or infrastructure, but um, that's not true. There are a bunch of studies with data that shows otherwise. Um, and I think that um, the town did a good job of integrating affordable multi-family housing piece to this legislature, because obviously as a town we do have a strategic plan and a housing plan. I'm not sure if the housing plan is online. I did not find it. I just found the slide.
Previous housing production plan
Correct.
is on the website. The new one is still, has been submitted to the state for approval. We have to do it every 5 years.
I see.
Okay.
Do you know
That also,
how long will this thing take to get started and end? Like, do they have a timeline
for what?
for the housing?
Well,
Yeah.
that depends on the developers, and obviously I can't speak. I'm not an expert on all this, but if you want more deep information, I encourage you to talk to the planning board, or yeah, honestly, the planning board will be the best person. The
I was
best.
just wondering because
Can I just add something real quick?
Yes.
So in terms of like what is happening right now, right, is the 40B3A, the MBTA zoning district overlay thing that we are supporting. All that does is it changes the zoning
Mhm.
for these areas that, right, it's the Green Street area where somebody has said that they want to build apartments in. It's the Rainbow Motel area, and I think Shrewsbury Commons, which already has apartments there. And there is no requirement in 3A to build
Build.
the housing. It is only to zone for the housing.
Correct.
And I think that, Bindu, a lot of the pushback is because the state is doing this like compulsory for any like of the MBTA. So if you have an MBTA station or you are an adjacent town, you have to build this, right? And so I think it's kind of like if you think about the COVID vaccine, right?
Well,
Like
you don't have to
when
build, you have to
everybody was
train.
like, you have to get the COVID vaccine, people were like, well, I'm not getting it because you can't tell me that, and so I feel like it's a little bit like that, right? Where the commuters are like, well, you can't tell me that I have to do this. And so I think because the state is like suing these towns that are non-compliant, right, or cutting funding, or I think this is where people are getting held up, is that they don't want to be told how to do, how to add the housing. Like we know we have to add housing.
So
Okay,
my
but
There's-
laws have been in legislators since the 70s and laws that are open to like, okay, if the town wants to build housing, this is how you can build housing. And there are laws like the 40B, 40S, 40V. There are a bunch of laws already in place that allow the town to zone for this developments, but towns choose not to do it. And that's why we have a shortage in housing across the country. And the state is saying like, no, you guys cannot do this anymore. If you guys do not comply, we're going to take away grants. And they went above and beyond and sue some of these towns that did not comply.
So my question is, we all are in agreement that we should support, correct? First of all, we are doing the letter for support, right?
Yeah, we are doing the letter saying, hey, this is a good idea. We should do
Correct.
this
Now we are
because,
wondering about
like,
the verbiage, right? How
Yeah.
to word it correctly. So
Yeah.
just highlight the negatives and the positives to the minimum. But I think most of them know. But is this letter going to help the people who are attending the meeting understand more? Or we
Yeah.
are just giving it out saying that we support it?
No, it's going to be presented to the town. There's going to be handed out to the town meeting members with their packet. So when we go to town meeting, we receive some supplemental information and it's going to be there for them to read. It's not for everyone, but it is for everyone because it's a public record. It's public. But it's going to be handed out to the public, the town meeting members.
And you need to do it by tomorrow, tonight? Like the letter has to go in?
Yeah, you guys have, I mean, you don't have to approve anything. But this would be the last opportunity to craft a letter, vote on it, and have it be in time for town meeting, which is Monday night. So you'll not be able to meet again.
Also, if you're interested in seeing the map, I can show you the map I have right here.
No, I'm on the page. I was looking at the map. My question is, how do we want to word it? That's where we are stuck, correct?
Taking in comments from everybody. So just give me a second.
I have seen that with today's day and age, people like to read less. So if you make it like bullet points of positive and bullet points of negative, and make sure that the positive is more, obviously, if you're supporting it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bindu. I think that if we have like bullets instead of paragraph, like we have, it's going to be
You know how
easy.
the mission statement
Honestly,
is?
as a town meeting member, I receive a lot of information in that packet, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'm just gonna skim through it. And
See the charges and the duties, they are all bulleted. We should do something like that so that it's just visually very appealing and you can read through it fast.
Mm.
Do you guys agree?
Yes, I agree for shorter letter.
Mm. Just while you all were talking, I tried to like condense the comments that I was hearing between the two letters. So this is what I wrote based on that. So it's taking what we have on paper, but and using the charge to like emphasize
Incorporate.
Deeb's connection to writing this letter of support. So this issue affects every member of our community. As the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Belonging Committee, our mission is to support and foster an inclusive and equitable community that enhances belonging for all residents. The committee is charged to act in an advisory capacity to the select board and town manager while also providing feedback to local governing bodies, boards, and committees on related topics. When only single-family homes are built, communities become inaccessible to all parts of the population. Seniors on fixed incomes, young adults, those with limited incomes, and marginalized communities that make Shrewsbury a vibrant and diverse community. Although no single policy or program has the ability to undo decades of exclusive zoning, the MBTA Communities Act is an opportunity for Shrewsbury to pave a way forward for seniors to age in place, young adults to move to town, and foster a more inclusive environment for those of all backgrounds to call Shrewsbury home. And then I just kept basically the rest of
the ending,
the ending of the letter.
which is like we can lose grants and what
Yeah.
the planning board did.
Yeah, I actually switched some of the wording of it to be more accurate. So instead of saying the planning board's transit, it's not the planning board. The planning board's just recommending it. It's been proposed by the planning department. So the proposed transit oriented development overlay district, and just like cleaned up some of the like technical language.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that sounds great. Your intro and then the ending paragraph, I think that's perfect.
I like
Do
it.
you want it? And we can keep the first paragraph, or do you? Yeah, I think we keep the first paragraph.
I mean, I think, I mean, I would be okay with even getting rid of that. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
like I think it just what you
The
said,
letter
you know,
itself.
yeah, you know, like
Yeah.
with our charge and why we're writing this letter, you know.
Okay, so we'll keep. How about we keep the first two sentences of it, or how about you got, or for your consideration, the town of Shrewsbury Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee respectfully submits this letter supporting the proposed MBTA zoning compliance plan. The Commonwealth faces a critical shortage of affordable housing, and our town is no exception. And then this issue affects every member of our community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds, yeah.
Does that kind of capture everybody's comments that
Yes.
we
Yeah,
laid
summarize it
forward
well.
in like a digestible way?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I was just
Thank you
listening.
so much. Thank you so
Fine.
much, Taylor.
I was listening and writing and looking at both of your letters and kind of trying to combine it and condense it the best I could.
I think you did a good job of it. I like it.
We
While we were
appreciate it.
talking, I don't know how you did it, honestly.
Well, I was listening like to the bits and pieces, like making sure we're or that the committee is emphasizing like its connection to this, and that housing is a like a equity issue, and like your guys' charge as a committee to be able to provide feedback and advisory comments on this to the different governing bodies in town, which town meeting is one of those. And then just taking the language from the letters and just reorganizing it. So
Taylor, will you put this in the Google Drive afterwards?
yeah, I'll have to type it because I hand wrote it.
Oh, okay. So I think, do we have to say we approve, Cynthia? Do we have to do a roll call since two people are on video?
I would
Yes.
think so because right, because we're not all in person. And then Taylor, will you end it with like the,
Yep.
respectfully, the DIB,
Yeah.
the whole,
Yeah.
the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
You
just
guys
need a motion.
Want
Oh,
all
sorry.
your names written out on the letter, or do you just want it to say the committee name?
I think the DEIB, it's
The
better.
committee, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. They don't, yeah,
That way.
it's less reading.
True.
So then I would just need a motion to approve the letter as proposed, as Taylor edited.
I can second it or do I propose it?
That's okay. So I have a motion and a second. Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, so we'll do roll call. Bindu,
Yes.
Anushri,
Yes.
Louise,
yes.
and Cynthia, yes. So the letter is approved. Great.
Alrighty.
And do we adjourn the meeting and then?
And then get a copy of the letter.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So motion to adjourn.
Second,
Okay. And so roll call again. Bindu,
Yes.
Anushri,
Yes.
Louise,
yes.
and me, yes. We are adjourned.
Okay. We can stop the recording now.
Thank you.